Apple sold a whopping 400 million iPods since they first came out in 2001 and have sold over 35 billion songs too. But for more than 10 years, almost nobody has been buying iPods. What made the iPod go from being everyone's must-have gadget to something almost nobody uses now? Let's go back to 1999, when the US music industry was doing really well. It was an exciting time. Lots of homes had a computer, and the internet was becoming a big deal for more and more people. This was when people started to get interested in digital media. CDs were the main way to listen to music, making up more than 80% of music sales in the US. You could play them on a big stereo system, take them with you in a portable CD player, or put the music on your computer. But there were problems with CD players and the first music players that you could carry around. They were too big, often messed up the music when you moved, and couldn't hold a lot of songs. Apple saw an opportunity here. It thought the other music players out there just weren't good enough and believed it could make something better and smaller. But Apple didn't really know what it wanted to make until John Rubinstein, who was in charge of making Apple's gadgets, went to a tech event in Tokyo. At the event, he saw a tiny 1.8-inch hard drive at Toshiba's stand. It was really small for that time and could store lots of songs, which was exactly what Apple was looking for its new music player. And that's how the iPod came to be. It was shown to the world for the first time on October 23, 2001. It could store 5 gigabytes of music, which Apple said meant about 1,000 songs, and it cost $399. Looking back from today, the first iPod had a lot less space and was quite a bit more expensive when you think about how much things cost now. Plus, it was pretty bulky. But at that time, it was a big deal because it could do more and hold more songs than other music players, and its unique scroll wheel made going through a lot of songs easy. Before the iPod, it was hard to take a lot of music with you. The iPod changed that and put Apple on the path to becoming a big name in mobile gadgets. But not everyone was convinced right away. Early reviews didn't like the iPod much because it was expensive and didn't do a lot. The New York Times talked about one analyst who thought the iPod was only good for Mac users and wouldn't matter to everyone else. But what made the iPod really take off was how simple it was to use. It did its job well, playing music. When it first came out, it was cool and easy to take with you, becoming a sort of symbol for showing off your music. But the iPod was just part of Apple's bigger plan. 9 months before the iPod came out, Apple had launched iTunes, a program for Macs to play digital music. The world of digital music was all over the place, with different companies doing their own thing, but iTunes was easy to use compared to the rest. The iPod could also move music onto the device super fast with its FireWire cable, a lot faster than USB at the time. You could get a whole CD's worth of songs onto your iPod in just 10 seconds. In April 2003, Apple opened the iTunes Music Store, selling songs for 99 cents each. It was a hit, selling over 1 million songs in its first week. But at first, iTunes was only for Macs, which not a lot of people used. So, in a move that surprised many, Apple made iTunes available for Windows later that year. Suddenly, anyone with a computer could use an iPod. This led to a huge increase in sales. The iPod became the symbol of portable music, and if you liked iTunes and the iPod, you might even think about getting a Mac. The music industry, which was having trouble with illegal downloads from services like Napster, also loved the iPod. iTunes offered a legal, easy, and affordable way to buy music, which was a big deal at a time when illegal downloading was a huge problem. As a result, the iPod kept getting better, and new versions like the Mini, Shuffle, and Nano came out, offering something for everyone. In 2007, Apple introduced the iPod Touch, which had a touchscreen, apps, games, and internet browsing. Sales reached their highest point in 2008. But everything started to change when Apple introduced the iPhone, which combined a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator all in one. Suddenly, the need for a separate music player started to fade. The iPhone could do everything the iPod did and more. As iPhone sales went up, iPod sales went down. Apple even started to phase out its own iPod models. By 2014, it was clear that the iPod was on its way out. And in 2017, Apple stopped making the last iPods that didn't connect to the internet. Nowadays, the idea of a device that only plays music seems outdated. We've got smartphones and tablets that can do so much more. Even so, the iPod isn't completely gone. In 2019, Apple updated the iPod Touch, making it faster and giving it more storage. While it might not be as popular as it once was, it's still around, useful for things like giving to kids, using at the gym, or for those who still like to own their music. But in a world where our devices can do almost anything, it's hard to imagine a gadget that does just one thing being a big hit again.